If it weren't for vaccines, half of you wouldn't be here today. You'd be dead. Vaccines have prevented more deaths than all the rest of modern medicine put together. People think that vaccines work simply. Here's your child, give him a vaccine, he becomes immune, shown in blue. He's protected from infection, shown in red, and so he doesn't get sick. But that's only part of the story. It also stops him from transmitting the infection to others, the other white dots, and that's critical. I'm going to show you how this happens. I'm also going to show you how you understanding this and you communicating it to others will decide whether vaccines in the future go on saving lives the way they've already saved half of yours. So here's an example. Whooping cough. When you get whooping cough, you cough for weeks, even months. Coughing comes in bouts that won't stop. You can't get your breath. You feel like you're coughing up your lungs. If you're a young child, you may end up with permanent lung damage, permanent brain damage, or you may die. This animation shows in each row of white dots a year's worth of newborn babies. As they move across the screen, they're getting older, so that at the right-hand side, they're just going past 25 years old. We're in the 1930s. There's no whooping cough. Most of the dots are blue because people are immune to whooping cough. They've had whooping cough. There are gaps in the rows where previously children have died and disappeared off the screen. Every 3 years, there's a big epidemic, shown by the red wave going through the children on the left. Many of them die. The survivors become immune, shown in blue, and the epidemic dies down. Then, when enough young, non-immune children have been born to sustain one, another epidemic erupts and scythes through the children. Immunity to whooping cough is strong and long-lasting. There's no whooping cough in the teenagers or the adults here. Let's fast forward to the 1950s. Whooping cough vaccine for infants have been introduced, and it's been enthusiastically accepted by parents in fear for their children's lives. Immunity to whooping cough becomes near universal by 6 months of age, but now induced by vaccine, not by infection. The rates of cases and deaths of whooping cough plummets by 100 to 200 times. The disease is gone. The problem appears to have been solved, but it hasn't. Now we're in 1978. Everyone's forgotten about whooping cough. It's not a threat anymore. Someone comes up with a theory, later shown to be false, that whooping cough vaccine has a rare, severe side effect, allegedly causing brain damage in a small number of infants. This is widely publicized. People lose their confidence in the vaccine. Large numbers, more than half, stop using it. And children, white dots, non-immune to whooping cough, start to reappear in the population. Inevitably, like clockwork, the epidemics restart. Many lives are lost before enough vaccination is reintroduced, the confidence of the public returns, and once again, the disease becomes rare. But the reluctance to use the vaccine remains strong in many countries, so new vaccines are developed that have lower rates of the common side effects, swollen arms, high temperatures, and so on. These were introduced in the UK in 2004. But something else interesting and unexpected is happening. Slowly, well, perhaps not so slowly, but we're quite slow to realize, whooping cough starts to come back. Why are we slow to twig? Because it's in the wrong place. It's not where we expect it in the young children. It's in teenagers and young adults. When a teenager gets a cough, no one thinks of whooping cough because it's known as a disease of young children. So why is this? Look at the blue color on the slide. As you go across from left to right, it gets paler. The vaccines are inducing good immunity, but it isn't lasting as long. And the newer vaccines, it's fading even faster. Well, whooping cough, coughs in young teenagers and young adults. Bit of a nuisance, you might think, but nothing more. You'd be entirely wrong. Who has babies? Young adults, that's who, or if you happen to live in the UK, teenagers. So, when they get whooping cough, they cough on their young babies, and as you all now know, when young children, watch the red arrows, are exposed to whooping cough, they get very ill and some of them die. And that's exactly what happened in 2012 in this country. 12 deaths and many scores of cases of whooping cough in infants after years of hardly any at all. I think you can see from all this that when you give a vaccine to someone, you need to think a bit more broadly than just the person you're giving the vaccine to. Sure, they stand to benefit, but so does everybody else, including people who can't make responses to vaccines and people who, for whatever reason, choose or can't get their children immunised. What the UK did in response to this recent crisis was immediate. They offered vaccine to pregnant mothers. Here the arrows are blue. The babies are being born immune. Antibodies from the mother crossing the placenta or being swallowed in breast milk give these babies immunity for long enough to last until they are old enough to have been immunised and protected themselves. Around about 60% of mothers are already accepting the vaccine, and happily at the moment, whooping cough rates in infants in the UK seem to be falling. But there's another point to all of this. We don't just pass infections around between each other. We're very good at communicating ideas, us humans. For a vaccine program to work, people need to understand why it's important, not just when the disease is common, but also when it's become rare. This is the biggest challenge for immunisation in the 21st century. What we now need to do is to explain to one another how we can help ourselves and each other by using vaccines. Thank you.